Hello and welcome to World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Diana Skaya. In this episode, we turn to Romania. Now, Romania's political landscape is in turmoil as the country navigates one of its most contentious upcoming presidential elections in years. Now, the Constitutional Court recently disqualified candidate Georgescu over campaign law violations and alleged foreign interference, prompting right-wing parties to urgently seek a replacement, which has actually just been announced earlier this evening. Meanwhile, a coalition of pro-European parties has entered the race. And joining me now on TVP World to delve into this further is our guest, Ivan Vejvoda, Permanent Fellow at the Institute of Human Sciences in Vienna. Sir, welcome to the program. So glad to have you here with us this evening.
Good evening, and thanks for having me.
So a lot just happened now, not too long ago. I mean, really, this unfolding electoral crisis really has ignited debates over, Romania's, let's be honest, democratic stability, geopolitical direction. Now, the latest, as I just mentioned, coming out of Romania is that the head of the Romanian far-right party, far-right AUR party, Simion, has submitted his candidacy for May's presidential elections, and this after the Electoral Bureau barred Georgescu from the race. Now, sir, we know that Simion did run back in November. He placed fourth, correct me if I'm wrong. He had almost 14% of the votes before the results were annulled. What should we know about his chances right now? How would he be any different from Georgescu?
Well, let me start off by saying the importance of Romania as both a member of NATO and of the European Union. It is the second biggest of the countries that joined NATO and the European Union after the fall of the wall, biggest after Poland. It's a country of 20 million people. It's an important country on what we call the eastern flank of NATO. It has a very big NATO base, and given the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and of course Romania borders Ukraine, it has an extremely important geopolitical, geostrategic position, and that is why, among other things, we are talking about Romania. Indeed, as you mentioned, there is and has been political turmoil after the presidential election was annulled by the Constitutional Court. The candidate Georgescu came in first in the first round with Elena Lasconi. She was and is also the candidate of the liberal pro-European group. Of course, Georgescu was barred, as you said, by the Electoral Commission, and the candidacy of George Simion as a replacement, quote unquote, of this very pro-Russian, anti-European strand of the Romanian electorate was not unexpected. So we are going to see a race. The elections, let me remind our viewers, are on May 4th, and a second round probably on May 18th will pitch, I guess, the replacement for Georgescu, Mr. Simion, and Madam Lasconi. The reason that Georgescu was barred was because of what the Constitutional Court deemed interference by third countries, and of course Russia is the one that is mentioned here, by a variety of means of disinformation using social platforms, in particular TikTok, and of course Russian money.
Ivan, you said so many interesting things here, a lot of factors here. Now, who else can you tell us about the positioning, in your view, as being the strongest candidates now? We've seen so many protests erupt as well in Bucharest. How do you think that, this is going to all impact these elections?
Well, we're seeing in Romania what we've been seeing in many other countries in Europe and the United States, the rise of populism, of identitarian politics. We've seen some of that in countries close or neighboring to Romania, Hungary, and Slovakia. There is a sentiment of anti-EU and anti-US feelings because of the ongoing war. And of course, Romania is a neighbor of Ukraine. And also, there is, we must add, as in other countries, this wave of populism is driven by anti-migrant feelings, but also because of the socio-economic dimension of inflation and people actually not seeing the incumbent government as really addressing their needs and grievances. And thus, this sudden, unexpected surge in the annulled election prior to the new year, where Calin Georgescu came first, was quite a shock in Romania itself, and I would say in Europe likewise. And so we were faced with a second round where Elena Lasconi came in second. And for us outsiders, it was not clear how this would pan out. And the Constitutional Court and the Electoral Commission deemed that the evidence of interference that they saw was such that they could not respect this. So Romania has an interim president at the moment, who is the head of the Parliament of Romania, Ilie Bolojan, who is a moderate pro-European liberal, and is, by all counts, doing a decent job in this meantime until the May elections. So there is clearly a protest. I will remind you that the American president, Vice President J.D. Vance, at the Munich Security Conference mentioned this situation and Romania and quote unquote said that this was very anti-democratic, what Romania is doing. Others beg to differ on this issue, and the European Union has a position of not interfering in domestic politics. And so it is the Romanian voters who, in the end, of course, in May, will have to adjudicate who they see is the rightful representative of the sentiments of political and other.
So, and Ivan, with everything that you're mentioning here, with all these facts that you stated, so now what is next for Romania? I mean, how could, of course, the outcome of this election have on Romania's foreign policy going forward, a relationship with the EU and possibly with NATO? And not only that, I mean, if we're talking about, you did mention in the beginning here, pro-Russian, a pro-Russian stance here, depending on, of course, who would win in its relationship with Russia, should the elections not go the way that Romanians, or at least pro-European Romanians, wanted to go?
Well, indeed, that is the question that we are all asking ourselves. What happens if the far-right pro-Russian candidate wins? And it is very hard to say how those things will pan out. It is, again, a level of uncertainty that Europe and the European Union and NATO are addressing. As I said, Romania is a key country on that eastern flank. It is on the Black Sea, neighboring, of course, Moldova, where the Russians have a foothold in the secessionist part of the country of Moldova called Transnistria, where there is a Russian battalion. So many questions that are very sensitive in this situation as hopefully we enter into a phase that would lead toward a resolution of the Russo-Ukrainian war. We are at the beginnings of this. Again, lots of uncertainty there. So we are right, and you are right to ask the question, what happens in Romania? But at this point, we really cannot say which way the wind will blow, depending on who gets elected.
Ivan, what about this? I mean, what measures are this time around, or is this time around Romania taking in order to prevent any foreign interference and foreign meddling in these elections, particularly from Russia?
Well, first of all, the Romanian institutions, the justice system, the prosecution, the secret services have discovered a number of ways in which Calin Georgescu was supported by Russia, by financial means, by, of course, the disinformation or information going in his favor. So there are ongoing investigations and searches, and I'm sure that the Romanian justice system will be much more alert to those possibilities and be watching very carefully whether and to what level there is intervention from the side. And clearly we have seen these Russian interventions both in the elections in Moldova last year, where President Maia Sandu did win, as well as the referendum, which voted got a pro vote for the European Union, and of course Georgia, which is neighboring Russia, and where we're seeing the demonstrations against the regime of the party of the tycoon Ivanishvili, who does not want to continue the pro-EU path. In fact, as you know, Georgian government suspended the European path. So we're seeing a pattern here where there is an attempt to undermine the European desires of the people of Georgia, who by all counts and in all opinion polls show that they are 80% pro-EU.
Thank you so much, Ivan Vejvoda, Permanent Fellow at the Institute of Human Sciences in Vienna, for all your input and insights here this evening.
Thank you.
And that's all for this edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more news and features.